Hey y'all, this is Allison hanging out in my space to craft, and my daughter is home from college for the weekend, and Monday is her birthday. We're doing brunch on Sunday, and so I need to make her a special card. So I'm going to use this Julie Nutting paper doll, and I decide to stamp it in this vintage photo archival ink. It's a little bit of a lighter brown, and I'm having an issue. The cling wasn't clinging, so I've got to stamp it again. I try spraying some water on it and getting it, and then I noticed that some of the little film that helps it to cling is coming off. These stamps are pretty old, but that shouldn't be happening. So I go ahead and make this work for a couple of the stamps, and then for the smaller pieces, I'm just picking it up and doing it manually instead of using my stamp platform. But for the main doll, it's important to get a really good stamped image. I wanted it clear and crisp, and so being able to stamp it a couple times was helpful. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the skirt as well while I have it in here. I do end up moving this a little bit because I don't need the whole doll. I really just I go ahead and stamp the skirt and the top, but I knew I wanted at least the skirt. And just making sure that I can see that, I'm going to go ahead and stamp it a second time. And this is so I can cut it out. So my plan is to cut it out and then try and add a little bit of shadowing in the skirt and see how that comes out. I also decide at this point I'm going to do the top of the dress in this blue, and this blue I'm going to use as one of the mats on the card as well. And then I need to find a yellow for the hair, and I pull out a couple of options. My daughter is a blonde, so I tend to try and use some sort of yellow. I think this one's a little bit better for my uses. And here you can see I'm struggling a little bit to make sure I can get it stamped on there. So I end up, I think at this point, doing it just by hand. Maybe not. Yeah, there we go. And for the small bits and pieces of these dolls, that works great. I do forget that I'm going to have to also stamp onto it's rose gold, Sizzix rose gold, but it's kind of a coppery gold paper. Even the archival ink doesn't stay on it very well, but it stays on well enough for me to get it cut out, and then it will rub off, it won't stay. Which was my concern on the skirt, is that I wouldn't be able to see it, and it wouldn't stick to the foiling that's on the paper. But it looks fine. So I'm just cutting out the hair so that I can paper piece this doll back together. That's the one nice thing about these dolls is, you can change the hair color up. You can change the dress colors up. You can do different pieces in different colors and different materials and stuff like that. You can also add tulle. I've seen tulle added onto some of these skirts and things like that. I did not do that. Though if I had a little bit of pink tulle, that might have worked, but I don't think I have the right soft color. But right now I'm doing this in colors my daughter loves. She's done her dorm room in pinks and soft pinks and blues, and so I'm kind of going along with that. I'm using my new watercolor markers, but they're too bold and vibrant straight off the marker. So I've added them to these little trays and I've spritzed them so that I can get just a tan. The color is tan, but it's too dark just by itself. So I'm just watering it down to get a little bit of shadow on the skirt. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the hair. I've got a yellow color and I've watered it down, and I'm just adding a little bit of detail to the hair so that it's not just one solid color. So as you can tell, this is more work than I usually do on my cards from scraps, because this is kind of a special one for my daughter. That's going to be the blouse. And then I'm going to, I have already stamped. I'm doing the gloves, the belt, and the shoes in this coppery or rose gold color. So I've stamped them and I'm just cutting them out. I did not make you watch me cut the skirt out or the doll, but these smaller bits, I think I've kept that in the video for the most part. If you struggle with fussy cutting, I really do recommend some of these spring-back scissors. They have a really pretty fine point. They're easy to use, and they're a little less strain when you're doing detailed cutting. I do really like them. I bought my mom like a bigger pair to use as sort of herb or kitchen scissors that are spring back. I'm using my art glitter glue just to secure all of these little pieces onto the doll. Now at this point I haven't colored the doll. I do go back and add a little bit of peach to the doll's skin. Not all over, just like on one side of it. And it's very subtle because I watered it down. And just to add a little depth so it's just not vanilla. And here are the little gloves. And I decide before I do these other bits, I should do the skirt first, and then add the accents at the end. So here's the blouse. And then that metallic belt. And then we've got the second glove to do. So at this point, I'm really just dressing the doll, and I haven't given a lot of thought to the card itself. But that part is relatively straightforward. And I started with an 8.5 by 11 sheet folded in half. I end up cutting about 1/2 inch off the top of my card base. These are the markers that I was using. I should be done with those for the most part, except I think I go back and add some beige. So here I'm just judging the size of it, and I do decide to cut off about 1/2 inch just to help its proportions a little bit. Otherwise it's a little tall and lanky, the card I mean. So I'm going to use this, it's a real pretty sort of speckled blue. So I'm going to use that as my first layer on the card. And I'm doing it a 1/4 inch smaller than my card size so that I get a good 1/8 of an inch all around. And I'm doing the same with this it's pretty fancy paper. I do really like it. I do end up cutting a little bit more off this one as I go to my next step. So I pulled out, so this would be adequate, but I had pulled out, I look at this other paper. I decide against it, but I do like it. So I have these scallop dies that I got from scrapbook.com, and I was ready to use one. So I picked one that had a little bit of detail in it, not just a plain scallop. And I'm going to add that to one side of the mats. I still haven't glued them down. So, and here you can see these little teardrop shapes. I think it's really pretty. So I'm going to trim off this card a little bit so that the scallop is just showing the blue through the holes. And I'm going to make a little bit more. So I'm liking that a lot. Now I'm going to go off and cut a title, a happy birthday title. I'm using the same blue as the background, and then the gold came out really well. It cut well. I'm going to use the gold for the words, and I'm just popping out the bits. It did cut really, really well. Despite being a specialty paper, sometimes those don't cut as well for me. But I just used 2 cutting mats. I did not use a magic mat on this. All right, time to assemble. So this is the final assembly. So I'm just trying to leave an even border all around, with the exception, obviously, of the right side, and that's where I'm going to add my scallop. And I think that's pretty cute. So I was trying to decide whether I wanted to pop the doll up or not. I decided not to. Because I'm going to pop up the title. But what I could have done is maybe pop up the edges, the outside edges of the skirt. That might have looked good. So here I'm just adding a little tiny bit of watered down peach marker to the face and legs and arms that are showing. And then we're going to pop this up, make sure that all the parts are well supported. And I go ahead and decide to connect those and overlap them. And then I have these beautiful pearls, half pearls, and I have 5 pink pearls left. So that's what I decide to use. And now it's time for close-ups. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope my daughter loves her card, and come back for more in my space to craft.